Hello again, everyone. Well, it seems like we have a bit of a propaganda war that's broken out between the United States and the DPRK, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. And it's broken out pretty much at the Winter Olympics, or that'll be the venue. And so far, it looks like North Korea has the upper hand. Kind of interesting the way the way North Korea is controlling the narrative here. So how can we tell North Korea has the advantage? Well, the reaction of the United States, because the American government is just freaking out. And as I mentioned in a previous video, the lovely and the highly talented Hyon Song Wol, she put the fear of God apparently in Mike Pence, because he's like pretty upset. And so when Hyon Song Wol, she visited South Korea to look at over the music venues where the Unhasu Orchestra would be playing. And Mike Pence is really unhappy, and as well as these crazy warmongers in Washington, D.C., they're unhappy that there's any kind of rapprochement between North Korea and South Korea, where they're trying to get together and smooth things out. Washington, D.C. and Mike Pence, they don't want to see this. See, they want to see that enmity, that anger between the two countries. And so, you know, now it looks like they're trying to get together and kind of smooth things over. No, that can't happen. And, you know, these people in Washington, D.C., they'd rather fight than talk. So here, Pence is hightailing it to the Olympics, the Winter Olympics, and guess who he's taking with him? Otto Warmbier's father. You remember Otto Warmbier, the guy that, the kid that he ripped a poster of Kim Jong-il off the wall. He ventured into a restricted area where he was told not to go. He violated the rules, ripped the poster off the wall, and then they put him on trial. North Korea put him on trial, and they sentenced him to like 15 years. And of course, he wouldn't have served that. He would serve maybe a year or two, if that. And then they would have released him on humanitarian grounds, like they have everybody else. He didn't know that. So apparently, from what, in my opinion, the kid took his own life, or tried to. And so when they sent him back to Cincinnati, he was in a vegetative state and died 3 days later. And his parents are making this huge dig about it, you know, their poor kid. Well, it's the parents' fault. They failed Otto because they didn't teach him how to behave in polite society, to act like a man and not like a kid. I mean, Otto had visited Israel like a year or two before and behaved, I guess, okay. But when he went to North Korea, he went off his, you know, and he suffered the consequences. But his parents are making, you know, a big thing about this, when they should be embarrassed and ashamed that they let their son down. Plenty of people have visited, Americans have visited North Korea and had no problems at all, because they followed the rules. Now, North Korea doesn't have very many rules, but the ones they have, you have to follow just like you go to any other country. You know, Thailand, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, any place. They got rules. You have to follow. So, you know, his parents are, like I say, are making a big thing about this. And, you know, they were at, his parents were at Trump's State of the Union address. And there they were crying and making a big thing about it and everything. And, you know, doing the victim thing. Okay, fine, you know. But, again, it was their fault. You know, admittedly, North Korea overreacted. They could have just said, you know, kicked him out. But they wanted to make an example of him, and it's probably the wrong thing to do, and I'm sure they probably regret doing it, although they'll never say that. But anyway, getting back to Mike Pence, he's taking Warmbier to the Winter Olympics. And you have to ask yourself, what does this have to do with anything? You know, because the argument if Pence wants to disrupt the friendship or whatever is going on between North and South Korea, this is not the way to do it. But anyway, he's bringing Warmbier, and so here's a statement that's from Pence's spokesman, and the spokesman or the aide or whomever is unidentified. So he doesn't say who his name is, and this is, you know. Anyway, here's the spokesman says, the Vice President will remind the world that everything that the North Koreans do at the Olympics is a charade to cover up the fact that they are the most tyrannical and oppressive regime on the planet. At every opportunity, the VP will point out the reality of the oppression in North Korea by a regime that has enslaved its people. We will not allow North Korea's propaganda to hijack the messaging of the Olympics. Well, what's the messaging of the Olympics? You know, the Olympics is traditionally a place where everybody sets aside their grievances and comes together and competes in sports. That's the messaging. I don't see North Korea doing anything pro-North Korea when they're coming to the South. I mean, the Unhasu Orchestra, from what I understand, they're not going to play any North Korean music. They're going to play folk tunes. They're going to play a lot of South Korean music, but they're not going to play anything that's, you know, militaristic or anything about Kim Jong-un or Kim Il-sung or any of that stuff. See? So there's no messaging there. So who's doing the hijacking? It's North Korea or is it Mike Pence? And, you know, so what I did here was I set up a little montage to help me understand, but also help you understand what I think is the congruity of the situation. So here's a little thing here, and you can see where I put coming from the north to the south. There was a Hyon Song Wol, then we got the 230 cheerleaders, then 140 members of the Unhasu Orchestra, then Kim Jong-un's sister, Kim Yo-jong, and then Kim Yong-nam, who is the titular head of state. And so they're coming from north to south. And then you see coming from the east is Mike Pence with Warmbier's father. And you have to ask yourself, what's this got to, again, what's it got to do with anything that concerns North Korea and South Korea? Because the Warmbier affair was between North Korea and the United States. So here comes Pence going, oh, well, look how badly they treated Otto Warmbier, and here's his father, to you know, and the average South Korean is going to say, we don't give a shit. You know, because plenty of Americans have come to South Korea and made asses out of themselves as tourists or as military personnel. And at times the South Koreans are going to go, why do we have to put up with this nonsense? So the South Koreans have had plenty of experience, no doubt, with Americans behaving badly. So if Pence thinks he's going to get any sympathy from South Koreans against their compatriots north of the DMZ, he's got another thing coming. This is why North Korea is winning the narrative, and Pence is way off base. I don't know what he's thinking about. I'm thinking what it is Mike Pence, like Donald Trump, doesn't know anything at all about North Korea. They only do what they're being told to do. And so they go, well, okay, fine, we'll do that. You know, and for a while I thought it was South Korea picking up the phone and calling Mike Pence and saying, get over here and give us a hand. And now I've changed my mind on that. I think there's these crazy warmongers that they want to go to war with North Korea, but if North Korea starts making nice with South Korea, then the chances of war have been greatly diminished. And this is something that these warmongers don't want to see happen. You know, they want to go to war with North Korea just like they went to war with Iraq. You know, or in Syria tried to overthrow Egypt, went into Libya, tipped it over, and they're still have an eternal war going on in Afghanistan. I just read a couple of days ago where there's B-52s bombing in Afghanistan. Been there since the year 2000. There's B-52s bombing in Afghanistan. And there's just like, you know, a few thousand Taliban. You know, I don't know. You know? So, and then there's President Moon Jae-in of South Korea. And back in 1998 or so, it was President Kim Dae-jung. And he got that sunshine policy going and greatly lessened the pressure with North Korea. In fact, he went to North Korea, met with Kim Jong-il. You know, they have their hands raised and they're toasting each other with wine glasses. And for a while, from I think 1998 to 2008, that was good. Things were happening. The tensions were being lessened. And then another government came in South Korea, and they're, again, linked to these warmongers in Washington. It's not a left or right thing. I don't think it's a right-wing government or a left-wing government. People like to put those labels on, but no, I think it's a pro-war. And you can't say the opposite of pro-war is anti-war. No, the opposite of pro-war is no war. See? And that's what we'd like to see, no war. The absence of war. But here we've got the pro-war. So we had a pro-war administration come in South Korea, and everything. And President Kim Dae-jung, he got a Nobel Peace Prize for his efforts, his peace efforts with North Korea. So I'm thinking maybe Moon Jae-in, President Moon Jae-in, he might like a Nobel Peace Prize if he can get something going, but that might not be his primary motivator. His primary motivator is there's 300,000 Chinese troops up on the other side of the Yalu, and they're just sitting there. They just moved in, and he doesn't want to see anything happen with the Chinese coming onto the peninsula. Say so, and I think North Korea has the same thing. You know, they want the Chinese in here. And in any case, moving on, Kim Jong-nam will be coming down, and he's the titular head of state. So he's coming down, and here you can see him with President Xi of China and also Vladimir Putin of Russia. And so he's almost 90 years old, but he's the titular head of state. So that'll be a big deal when he comes down to South Korea and meets with people. And some meetings, and there'll be some photo ops and so on and so forth. And but the big deal, and if you thought that Hyon Song Wol was a big deal coming to South Korea, and if the South Korean media thought that was like they couldn't get enough of her, if you thought that was a big deal, wait till Kim Jong-un's sister, Kim Yo-jong, when she comes down, because this will be huge. This will be a really, really big deal, because she's the first member of the Kim family, or what I call the Kim royal family, to come to the South. She's the first, as far as I know. There's been no member of the Kim family to come to the South. So she'll be first. And she's a very personable young lady. She's really something. Here's a couple pictures of her. She seems to be very, very vivacious. When you see pictures of her, even when they're candid pictures and she's hanging in the back of the crowd, she's smiling. And when she's just walking or you catch her, she's smiling. She seems to be a pretty happy person. And here you see a picture of her hanging in the back of the crowd. I got a red arrow pointed at her. But for a long time, for a couple, 3 years, she was always at the periphery of the group, the gaggle that followed Kim Jong-un when he'd go on one of his guidance visits, and sometimes she'd tag along. But she was all the way in the back, and the camera would only catch her like by accident. And she'd kind of drift into the frame, but mostly she stayed out. She stayed way in the back. And then there was the picture of her voting. And you got a picture of her voting. I said, oh, and that's when everybody first got a good look at her, when she's voting. And then she moved up behind her brother. And here's a picture of Kim Jong-un greeting some generals, and she's kind of close behind him. And then here she is smiling with some kind of a big portfolio or document or something that she's handing to her brother, or going to put it on the table in front of him. And again, she's smiling. And then here she's taking flowers. I like this picture of her standing right kind of behind Kim Jong-un, and she's taking flowers. You know, we go somewhere and people give him big bouquets of flowers, and he takes them and hands them off to somebody. And usually he hands them to an aide, and the aide is usually a member of his security detail, a member of the command guard. But in this case, very curiously, his sister assumes that role. She goes up to her brother, and she does this kind of a menial task of taking the flowers. So I thought that was a kind of interesting, whether somebody got sick and she filled in, or why, or whether her brother said, stand up here so you can get in the picture. And but clearly she's moving up, and she's becoming more visible. And here, then she kind of steps out on her own. And here's a picture of her posing with soldiers. I like this. She's standing straight and tall, big smile, and she's erect. And all these soldiers, she's posing right there. I guess she must have made some kind of a visit to some military unit as a representing her brother. And so, you know, being a member of the royal family, you know, it's kind of like a Kate Middleton thing, you know, the UK. She shows up, everybody like, you know, whoa, Kate Middleton, royalty, see? So that may be what's going on here. Here's another picture of her I like, and it's a very curious picture. She's sitting either at a concert or some kind of a meeting, and she's sitting on that chair straight in front of the camera, and you notice that her hands are folded in her lap, and she's not applauding while everybody else is. But she's smiling, she's attentive. So whether she declined to applaud, because it's a big deal, you know, you have to applaud. That's why Jang Sung-tak got in so much trouble. That was one of the indictments against him, because he did a slow clap or a golf clap, or didn't applaud at all, applauded half-heartedly. Kim Jong-un, you know, you're supposed to really slam them together. And he was doing this disrespectful golf clap. Well, here we've got Kim Jong-un not clapping at all. Well, everybody else around her is. So I don't know, maybe it was something to do with her. Somebody said something nice about her, and so she felt it was something she probably shouldn't clap, you know, and then bring attention to herself. So she just, I don't know, you know. But anyway, the most important picture came out last December when going into that concert, when she walked up the steps right beside her brother. And she was talking while he was listening. He had his head down and he was kind of leaning toward her and listening what she had to say. And this is a very symbolic picture, because now it puts her right beside him on the same step, going up, equal, on the same level, equal to him in this picture. He's still got that #1 picture. He's in the center, but she's close right there. And, you know, I might be reading too much into it, but now she's become an important person. And, of course, here's a picture I found of her looking, one of the few pictures you can ever find of her looking serious. And it looks like her driver's license picture. Now, I guarantee you this is the picture that all the media, the global media, will pick up and show of her when they do a news article on her. You know, like this stern, serious, formal picture. When this is not her at all. But they'll pick that picture up, her driver's license picture, and, you know, everybody's driver's license picture looks bad. Mine looks terrible. I look like a gangster. You know, always have. So that's the picture they'll pick up. But here's what, getting back to Pence. And Pence says he's going to South Korea because North Korea wants to make it all about cute photo ops. The vice president is countering North Korea's desire to control the message. We're not going to cede 2 weeks of world media to North Korea. And he says the best way of countering North Korea's attempt to control the media is to bring Warmbier. I mean, is that the best way? You're matching Warmbier, this father who let his son down, who failed his son. You're going to match him against Kim Yo-jong, yeah? 230 cheerleaders, 140 members of the Unasu Orchestra, and you're bringing in Warmbier? And see, this is how, without even trying, North Korea has managed to control the message. See, all the attention is on them. And to my way of thinking, Mike Pence showing up in this manner without being gracious and kind, because Mike Pence, after all, he's supposed to be an evangelical Christian. He's supposed to be kind and decent, you know, and here he's being belligerent. So, you know, this is why North Korea is winning this round. I mean, you know, game, set, and match, North Korea. So we'll see what happens, and I'm really curious about Kim Yo-jong, how she looks, how she carries herself, how the South Korean media treat her, I bet they're just all over her. I bet she'll just get, you know, I bet there'll just be all the attention is on her. Poor Mike Pence is out there, and he's saying, and then he says somewhere in one of these articles that I've got, he said, well, you know, I'll talk to North Korea if they want to, or, you know, whatever. If they want to meet with me, I'll talk to them. And North Korea says, where's the article here? I wish I could find it. I just put it here somewhere. But North Korea, in so many words, they said, that's all the way at the bottom. North Korea says, this is from Yonhap News. North Korea says it has no willingness to meet with U.S. at the Olympics, so on and so forth. And there's a senior official at North Korea's foreign ministry. He says, we have never begged for dialogue with the U.S. and will be the same in the future. We clearly state we don't have a willingness to meet with the U.S., so on and so forth. And you know, that's where they are. North Korea says, no, we're not going to, you know, we're not going to bow and scrape and come with our hat in our hand. And besides, the most important thing for North Korea is not to patch it up with the United States, but to patch things up with South Korea. That's the most important thing. And it's a very tough thing to do, but it's been done in the past, or at least progress has been made between 1998 and 2008 with the Sunshine Policy. And there was an agreement with the interesting agreement with the Sunshine Policy is that each side agreed that they wouldn't interfere in the other's business. In other words, South Korea tells North Korea, we're not going to tell you how to run your show, and North Korea says the same thing to South Korea, you know. And so that's a subject for another video, but like I say, I don't know what Mike Pence's people are thinking here, how they think they can counter what North Korea is doing with bringing in Hwang Bye's father. That's the best they got. They just should have just not done anything at all. Just come and been nice. And then they're going to, at some point, they're going to bring Ivanka. That's what I heard. Can you imagine Ivanka showing up at the, you know, at the Olympics? I mean, she's popular in China, but I don't know how popular she is in South Korea. But in any case, I'll leave it at there, and like I say, we'll keep an eye on things and see how things go. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.